Hello and welcome to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. It is another weekly edition of the show on the National Sports Network on Spreaker.com. Just to remind you again, if you like the show, like us on Facebook at National Sports, as well as follow us on Twitter at National Sports 1. Alright, the NHL season is now 6 or 7 games in for every team, a couple weeks in, and I'm really finding it a great season. Scoring's gone up, power play percentage has gone up, and it's kind of been a tough season for goaltending. But, you know, they can deal. So, I'm going to start the show with talking about the players who I think are still kind of in the legs of, lockout legs, if you will, the rusty team. So I'm picked the, if you will, the starters of the least valuable players, the players who were supposed to make a big impact but didn't. Alright. Dustin Brown, who's the center up for the Kings, has 1 assist through 4 games. He was a huge part of their Stanley Cup run last year, and they can't really live without him right now. Alright. Left wing is Bobby Ryan. He's from the Anaheim Ducks, and he only has a goal and assist through 5 games, which is just completely so far below his last time production. He's only on track for about 23 points, which is really terrible for him. Phil Kessel, he's the right wing for the Leafs. He has 0 goals, 3 assists through 5 games. Phil Kessel is much better than this, and just not having a good season. I mean, most people would say, 3 assists through 5 games, you know, he's doing okay, but the thing is, in this NHL season, he isn't. He's one of the worst right wings on, like, a top line right now, which is what I'm saying. Alright, now back to the defense. Shea Weber, he's from the Nashville Predators, and he has no points through 5 games. Shea Weber's a really good defenseman, a really good offensive defenseman. He normally scores a lot. He's a point a game at least. And this is just not a good season for him. Drew Doughty is my other defenseman. He's from the Kings. He's a teammate of Dustin Brown. And he has no points as well through only 4 games. And backstopping the net, but not very well, Cam Ward, the goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes, his record is 1-3 when he starts. He has a 4.51 goals against average, and he has a .861 save percentage. That is almost, it's basically like he's letting in 1 more goal per 10 shots than some of the top goalies, which is 3 more goals a game, basically. And the goals against average is just killing him. Now, some people might just blame this on Carolina's defense, but I'm just blaming it on him. Cam Ward had an amazing rookie season. He led the Carolina Hurricanes to a Stanley Cup championship, but after that he has sunk every single season since, and now he's at his lowest. I do want to note one thing about this team. I tried to limit it to only 2 LA Kings. I could have made the other defenseman an LA King and another 2 wings LA Kings. The LA Kings are having an awful offensive season. Alright, now we're going to go on to the players who are my top team, the players who would start an all-NHL team. These are the players that have really come out and not been rusty at all. Patrick Marleau is one of the leaders on this team. He is a left wing out of the San Jose Sharks. He has 9 goals and 5 assists through 6 games, 14 points, tied for the NHL lead, and he's really, really doing well. And this is a big thing, because Thornton was drafted in the 97 draft, 2nd overall. He was drafted 16 years ago. And he's been playing for 12 seasons. I don't know if he's ever started like this. Nobody really has ever started like this. This is an amazing start. His first 4 games, he scored at least 2 goals. The next game, he had a goal and assist. The last game, he only had an assist, and that was a bad game. He has scored a point in at least every single one of his games, and I think he is doing just great. Now, I do want to remind you, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box below. I will try to answer them as soon as I see them. Thank you. All right, the right wing on my all-NHL currently now team. Martin St. Louis. He's another player, kind of like Marleau, who's been in the league a long time, but is really having a good season. He has 12 points, 3 goals only, but 9 assists, which is great, through 6 games. He's on a line with Steven Stamkos, who's one of the leading goal scorers, so, it comes with the territory. The Lightning are having a really good season. I'm really actually liking them. Joe Thornton is the center for my all-NHL team, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. He has only 3 goals, but he does have 11 assists, and he's just having a really good season. And this is through 6 games. And he's playing with Marleau, but the whole Sharks team has really been great, especially that top line, which they've been relying on a lot. And those top 3, the top line of Thornton, Marleau, and Pavelski, another player who I could easily have put on this team. Those 3 have not scored a point in the game. They've scored a point in every single game this year, which is incredible for a line. All right, so now I'm going back to the D. Andrei Markov, he's out of the Canadians. He is 4 goals, 4 assists through 6 games. He's having an incredible season. I don't really think I expected this out of him. He has been a solid defenseman, but really this is coming out an incredibly strong season for the big guy on D. Dustin Byfuglien is the other D who's doing great. He's out of Winnipeg for the Jets. He has 3 goals and 4 assists, also through 6 games. And he is having a really good season. Yes. Craig Anderson is my goalie on this team. He is having an incredible year. Craig Anderson is not an incredible goal. Well, he is this season, but he hasn't been an incredible goalie for when I don't ever remember calling him the best goalie in the NHL of this time right now. But he has 5 wins, no regulation losses, and 1 loss that was in OT. I believe that wasn't a shootout. Please correct me if I was wrong. The Senators' only loss was when he was not, only regulation loss was when he was not in goal, which is, interesting, I find. Alright, so currently he has a .99 goals against average. He's averaging less than a goal allowed a game. That is incredible. And his save percentage of 967 means that he is just stopping everything. He is not letting pucks in, and he's having an incredible season. I really, really am liking Craig Anderson at the moment. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but thanks for listening, and stay with us. Hello, and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We continue to look at the NHL season so far. Alright, now we're going to talk about our weekly look at what happened off the ice, signings, injuries, and so forth. It was not a big week for injuries, so I didn't really put any up there. Players who are still out include Scotty Hartnell and Joffrey Lupul, who are both still out, as well as the defending Calder Cup Trophy winner, Gabriel Landeskog. Alright, so who signed this week? Montreal signed PK Subban to a 2-year deal, which is, he was a restricted free agent, which means he couldn't sign anywhere else. So he was in negotiations for a while, and this is actually big because he couldn't play until now. So it's kind of huge for him to play. Montreal they're one of their top defensemen in PK Subban, and he's been out so far. So that was a really big hit to him. Philadelphia signed Mike Knuble, who was previously with Washington, But before that, in 05 through 05, 06 through 09, 08, 08, 09, excuse me, was with the Flyers, so he's returning to the Flyers. He signed a 1-year deal. This is, a good deal for him, and I think it's a good place for him. He seems to play well there. Mike Knuble, last year he had a drop in his stats, but before that, he was a 20-goal scorer at least. So he's going to be a big addition to them, especially as Scotty Hartnell is out. And because Hartnell's out, they need to readjust their lines and do all this. So Knuble hopefully can bring up some of that scoring that will have dropped so far. All right. Next, Jamie Benn, who is property of the Dallas Stars. He has a similar situation to the PK Subban thing, as he is a restricted free agent, and he needed to sign there. One big difference is he's had a 5-year deal, which is $26.25 million. That means he is getting $5.25 million a year. This is a 20-something-year-old. I do not know his exact age. I believe he's probably below 24. And he is having... he's a great player, and he should have a great season. But I'm thinking they probably could have gotten him cheaper. I think they finally wanted him back so much, and he was holding out. But Jamie Benn, he's a good player. He is. I can't blame them for going out and signing him. I just think that you could have got him cheaper. All right. When we get back, we're going to talk about the teams who have come out in this NHL season really slow, as well as the teams who have come out hot. I'm talking about a couple teams in particular, and you can see them if you stay with us on the National Sports Network, Spreaker.com. This is In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. Keep listening. Hello, and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We're going to continue talking about the NHL season. Now we're going to get into the teams that have surprised and that have come out very strong. But first we're going to talk about the teams who have come out and basically flopped. Just completely on belly up. Florida. They have 2 points in 6 games, and they've lost 5 in a row. They won their first game, and they haven't won since. I liked this Florida team. I thought they could make the playoffs. I thought they might be able to have a deep run, conference finals maybe. Apparently I was wrong, because they are not having a good season at all. They are getting outscored by a lot. Their goaltending is not being strong enough, I believe, with their current situation. Their defense is lacking. Their offense is just not good, and they're basically a team built out of no-names, and I think that's hurting them. And another thing I think that hurting them is the fact that they're in a market where they don't have a huge payroll. Florida, you don't think of hockey in Florida. You think of northern states for hockey, Canada for hockey. Florida just doesn't have the payroll to support this team, and I think it's coming to hurt them. Last year they had a good run, but now they're just kind of falling flat. Right, Washington, another team who is out of the Southeast Division. Through 6 games, they only have 3 points, so they're in a similar situation to Florida, except they have a 1 OT loss to add to their thing, but that's only an extra point. Ovechkin has not had a great season, and their goalie situation is kind of shaky. Newvrinth has been starting most of their games, but I think Braden Holtby's a better option. And I think that they're trying to stay away from Holtby because they're trying to stick with Newvrinth because he is the higher salary guy, and I think they feel obligated to start him, which I think is just silly. It is very silly. Alright, continuing with one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference so far, the Philadelphia Flyers. They have 4 points in 7 games so far, just 2 wins, not having a good season. Scotty Hartnell, as I said, was hurt. Hopefully the addition of Mike Knuble will help, but it's doubtful that he will help that much. They are currently just kind of they're winning. When they win, they're doing well. I think the games that they won, I saw a glimpse of what they can really be. They can be a good team. They're built as a good team. I just feel that currently they are not a good team. They are built like one, they are not playing like one. Alright, now we're heading to the Western Conference teams that have been severely lacking in playing well. Calgary has only 3 points in 4 games. I think they might be a little too early to call, but they are the bottom feeders currently in the Western Conference, so I felt like they deserve to be on this list. Colorado has 4 points in 6 games. So, I mean, they're not doing horrendously, but they're not doing well. They are shaky, if you will. Columbus, the perennial bottom feeder of the Western Conference. One of those teams that you're like, wait, they're not in last? Oh, wow, they're having a great season. So, they're in 13th right now. I mean, this is good for Columbus. Really, really hanging tough there. Alright, now we're going to talk about the teams that are, in this shortened season, seem to be almost halfway to clinching. Of course they're not, but, It's going to be soon enough that, we're going to see teams clinching in a couple months, and it's going to be really weird to have teams clinching that soon into the NHL season. Because once you're, for 30 games in, 35 games in, you're going to start seeing teams that are clinching. Alright, so Boston. They have 11 points in 6 games. Their only loss coming in overtime. This is a good team. I mean, they are set. They weren't set up to have a great season because Tim Thomas had left them. And he was their goalie. He's taking a year off for family reasons. It is hard to say what that could be. You never know. Tuukka Rask is their goalie. And I thought he wouldn't carry them that well. I thought he wouldn't be able to win games. But I can see I was completely wrong with that. Boston is a good team. They will probably be on top of that division, or at least near the top of that division for a long time. I expect them to make the playoffs. Alright, now Tampa Bay, the Lightning. This is a team that's really surprised me. They have 10 points in 6 games, just the one loss. I mean, I really think this Tampa team it's kind of coming together. I don't know how, because their goaltending is really shaky, so is their defense. But, they got Steven Stamkos. So what more can you ask? You get Steven Stamkos. Who needs goaltending, right? Alright, New Jersey. This is a team who is doing fairly well. They have a couple losses, but they do have 3 wins. So, overall, I like them. But they are not incredible. But, I mean, they're leading their division, and that's a good thing to say when you're in the toughest division in the NHL. Alright, now we go down to Chicago. Last night was their first loss in a shootout. So it is only, they get 1 point still, which means they are undefeated in regulation, which is the same situation as the Bruins are in. Chicago is really coming together this year. Patrick Kane is kind of coming into himself, and that defense is finally becoming a stronger core of guys. St. Louis has only 1 loss. They've played 6 games so far, and I'm feeling that they have a strong chance to have a good season. Yaroslav Halak has 2 shutouts already for this team. And I do not know, but I believe that they are splitting games between Brian Elliott and Yaroslav Halak as they were last season. And now we go to the only undefeated team in the NHL. The San Jose Sharks have played 6 games and won them all. Of course, they had 2 nights ago, they had their closest encounter, a win in a shootout over the Anaheim Ducks, but they did get it done. And San Jose looks to be very strong. This is an offense that is very, very good. anchored by players who are having seasons that they haven't had in multiple years, such as Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau. Alrighty. That is going to conclude our talk about teams, but when we get back, we're going to talk about the games to yesterday and today, and we're going to talk about a certain NHL team whose location is in flux. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We are going to continue talking about the NHL. I mean, it's really shocking. The whole show we've been talking about the NHL, we're going to continue talking about the NHL. Never would have guessed. Never. Alright, we're going to start talking about last night's games. Ottawa won 5-1 over the Canadiens. This was a big win. And look, Craig Anderson only let in one goal to keep that goals against average right where it is. Ottawa is really coming together, and I'm really liking this team so far. I feel like they could surprise a lot of people and make a good deep run. Another big game last night was Minnesota. They knocked off in a shootout the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2, and big win for them. The Hawks are now no longer perfect, but they do pick up the point, which is pretty big because now they still to the top of the Western Conference standings. Minnesota also is a very good team. They're really seem to be strong, and that showed in this game. They're not the strongest team so far, but they seem to be coming together as a team. Of course, they had a lot of new players coming in this year, so having that many new players sometimes is a little difficult to figure yourself out. Alright, we're going to talk about tonight. First, we're going to check the scoreboard right now, and currently it is the start of the third period right now, and Buffalo and Boston are tied 3-3. Of course, Boston has not lost in regulation, and currently they're in a place where they could be going to OT. The Islanders are playing the Devils in a battle of the tri-state area, and that game is as well 3-3, just starting the third period. Both high-scoring games, as I said before. Goalies have had a struggle of a year. And another game, the Blues lead the Blue Jackets 3-1 at the end of the second. The Blues have been a better team, so I find that not too surprising. Alright, now we're going to talk about some of the games tonight that have not started yet. Nashville is playing LA. Those teams are both 9th and 10th in the league right now, so they really want these wins to push them up. LA wasn't great in the first couple games, but they have been shaking off the rust lately and been climbing up those standings. Jonathan Quick's coming back, and hopefully their offense will rejuvenate. But at the current part right now, it is a slightly stagnant offense. It happens. Alright, now we're going to talk about the big game tonight. The Sharks are trying to stay perfect versus the Oilers. The Oilers are a team that have had big wins over LA and Phoenix lately, but those wins were both those were close wins. Nail Yakupov had big goals in both. The Tire with 4.6 seconds against LA, which he knocked out of the air. And against Phoenix, he won it in OT. A point on Yakupov's goal in LA. Afterwards, after the goal, it is common NHL standards that you simply jump into the boards and your teammates kind of have a huddle, if you want to say. I don't know exactly what the terminology is for that. But he did something completely opposite. He scored, and he skated towards center ice, and he just dropped on his knees, and he slid across the ice. It was a really great celebration. Personally, I liked the celebration. He really showed strong celebration skills in that. But the NHL has said that celebrations are not the greatest thing. And Don Cherry, in another game, he really talked about how Yakupov was being immature and shouldn't be in the NHL. Personally, I think celebrations are great in the NHL. They're creative, they're all that. And look at the NFL. The NFL has all these big celebrations, yada yada. And I think at the time the NHL gets a chance to too, because there are so many things you can do on skates. Alright, of course, the Edmonton is playing the Sharks, and this Sharks has had an incredibly high-scoring offense. This Oilers team gave up 6 goals in the first period last time the Sharks and them played. That was tied a Sharks record for a first period, and the Sharks look to capitalize on shaky goaltending for the Edmonton Oilers. Again, Devin Dubnyk has not come out very strong in this season. But you know who has come out strong? The Sharks goaltender, Antti Niemi. He is having a great season so far, and he is really looking to carry this Sharks team. Alright, we're going to close up but after the break, but stay with us. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Coyotes, their ownership situation, and I'll keep you up to date with NHL scores. Thank you. Please keep listening. Hello. Welcome back to In the Crease with Karl Moeglein. We are here to talk about the NHL season, and we will be here every week at 5 or 5:30, where I am hoping to get that smoothed out, and it will always be on our Thursday afternoons. We are going back to the scoreboard to check on any score updates. Only one game has changed scores so far. Buffalo and Boston, instead of 3-3, now they're 4-4, and they are 15 minutes left in the third period. It's only been about 4 minutes since we last checked up on them, and that game looks to be very high scoring. Apparently Tuukka Rask is having more difficulties than I thought he was earlier. Alright, now we're going to talk about the Phoenix Coyotes. There was a ownership group that came in. Currently they're owned by the NHL, and the ownership group has fallen out. This is devastating. Right now, they're saying there's a good chance that the Phoenix Coyotes could be sold by the NHL, and they're saying the top place that they could go is the Toronto area. There is a suburb near Toronto that they have a plan for an arena, and they're thinking that Toronto could have a great two-team rivalry. They have the fans up there, and kind of having the Mets, Yankees, Cubs, White Sox type of thing. The second team, maybe not as great, but still will get a large fan base. Well, this has been In the Crease with Karl Moeglein on the National Sports Network, broadcasting live with the help of Spreaker.com. If you like this show, please leave us a comment. Give us a follow. Give us a follow on Spreaker. Give us a follow on Twitter at National Sports 1. And follow us on Facebook. Just search National Sports. You should be able to find us. This is Karl Moeglein. Thank you for listening. Come back next time, Thursday, hopefully at 5. Thank you.